Avoiding exceptional educator burnout in 2022. Working in exceptional education can be one of the most rewarding positions available. Educators are expected to mold the minds of future generations while teaching them to be happy, upstanding citizens. However, after the coronavirus outbreak in March 2020, many teachers experienced tremendous burnout due to the increased demands and responsibilities placed upon them. Welcome. I am so glad to have you here today. My name is Erin Westover, and I am the lead speech-language pathologist for the Williamsburg-James City County Public Schools. I am currently working towards my EDD in Exceptional Education Executive Leadership, and I aspire to work in central office to advocate for related service providers and our students. Today, I will be discussing how to avoid exceptional educator burnout after COVID-19. The issue is that educator burnout is not a new concept. It has been a growing issue in the education world for many years. However, current trends are suggesting that burnout after COVID-19 has the potential of a mass exodus of teachers, which may drastically affect the way traditional education looks in the coming years. Just think about it. Virtual teaching, mitigation strategies, additional duties, frustrated parents, a decrease of socialization, and mental health issues have become the new norms during these unprecedented times. According to Dr. Govender in 2021, the school community is expected to function normally in an abnormal situation. In this presentation, we will be discussing the major components of burnout. Burnout is a state of chronic stress that can lead to physical and emotional exhaustion, cynicism and detachment, and feelings of ineffectiveness and a lack of accomplishment. Some common signs of burnout that we may see among our peers or even within ourselves can look like anger, apathy, a feeling of being overwhelmed, an unwillingness to learn, feeling demoralized, or even disconnected with our family, friends, and peers. When discussing the effects of COVID-19 school closures and emergency virtual teaching, it is imperative to explore the implications and impacts on students with disabilities and their teachers. Districts began scrambling to find options to provide equitable opportunities for learning, all while maintaining ease of use and confidentiality. Individualized education plan meetings and evaluations had to be conducted virtually, which can increase the possibility of invalidity and miscommunication. While many families had internet and parent support to access the online instruction, many families did not have the access to technology, internet connectivity, or parent involvement to even attempt to participate. On top of these difficulties, exceptional students may have even faced additional challenges, such as decreased attention and motivation, and a lack of accommodations during virtual instruction, however, not due to an absence of concern from their teachers. Parents and guardians were expected to step up and ensure their children participated and received the support needed to access the curriculum, all while navigating their own jobs and health concerns. To offset any technological difficulties, many educators began providing and mailing paper packets and other educational models on their own dime to eliminate unnecessary stress to all parties involved. Unfortunately, this added pressure on parents and guardians to step up and become teachers to their own children. Everyone was stressed and burned out, and no one knew what to expect for the future of health and learning. Slowly, schools began reopening, but not without major concerns posed by teachers, children, and families. Because the coronavirus was unknown, mitigation strategies were incorporated into the school day, which added fear and pressure on all parties involved. Everyone was legally required to wear masks and remain no less than 6 feet apart, which, if you can imagine that in a self-contained setting, that's going to be very difficult. Plastic shields were placed on students' desks to decrease the potential of spread. Hand sanitizer and strong chemicals were obsessively used to help keep everyone safe. Contact tracing was incorporated to decrease spread and implement quarantines, all while trying to avoid HIPAA violations. Increased levels of stress, depression, and burnout were rapidly being seen across the world. During this stressful time, many school divisions began to see obvious burnout and a mass exodus of teachers leaving the education world entirely. Leadership during a crisis must have many responsibilities, including, but are not limited to, the efforts used to prevent or decrease the effects of the crisis, being prepared to institute a continuation of learning, the actions needed to institute the continuation of learning, and the reconstruction of the educational setting after the crisis. These pinpoints were researched and defined by Kapusu and Van Wart in 2008, and I feel like they have a really great idea of how leadership should be recognizing and incorporating some strategies into the building. Educators who feel supported by their administrators are more likely to stay at their schools and experience less burnout. Those school leaders who provide regular, constructive, and specific feedback can build positive relationships with educators and show them that their work is valued. However, not all can assume the leadership role necessary to foster a culture of learning in which educators feel safe to make mistakes and learn. Conley and Yu in 2017 stated that teachers who perceive their administrative supervision as supportive, a clear vision, and teacher recognition were less likely to feel they might leave teaching or leave their job for another school. To encourage retention, administrators should focus on relationship building and mindfulness to stimulate a sense of psychological safety among staff. Due to the increasing stress and pressure put on educators, a different type of leader is essential. The typical bureaucratic-style leader is phasing out and is being replaced by a more effective leader open to creating collaborative learning communities. There is a high demand for healthy working relationships between leaders and educators in the K-12 setting. Leadership can be more readily realized through the interpersonal relationships developed between the principal and the teacher. Interestingly, Dinham in 2005 suggested that the leader's relationship with educators is more important than the technical aspects of administration and management, and must focus more on collaboration, commitment, trust, and common purpose. According to Park and Shin in 2020, the teacher's physical and psychological well-being, work performance, turnover are all related to burnout. When educators get the impression or gut feeling that they're failing at a time when their performance expectations are at record level highs, they need to begin to advocate for their own workplace health and safety during this rapidly changing health crisis. Administrators need to be aware of this and should begin incorporating relationship building and mindfulness through social emotional learning, or SELs. SELs can be used to stimulate resilience, goal setting, and self-monitoring. This system can teach strategies for reducing anxiety and building collaborative relationships for educators and students alike. Incorporating mindfulness in daily practice may significantly improve an educator's mental health capacity. Garner in 2018 defined mindfulness as a state of mind in which the attentional focus is in the present moment without judgment. Educators can practice mindfulness to improve their perception of student behaviors and to improve curriculum development and implementation. The administrators can support their staff's social-emotional competency by providing opportunities for collaboration, recognizing and providing constructive feedback to staff, including staff in decisions relating to their work, and supporting a healthy work-life balance and self-care. Collaboration is one great way to begin easing educator burnout in the school setting. Lang and Page in 2011 discuss how collaborations can be used to observe and describe specific behaviors and select appropriate interventions that could be implemented across all educational settings. By giving educators this time to confer with their colleagues, stress may slowly be alleviated by allowing teachers the time to adopt lessons and ideas from their colleagues, giving time to vent and let off steam, and allowing additional time to complete paperwork and other administrative duties that are difficult to complete during the typical school day with students. Another way for leaders to support their educators is to allow and encourage a healthy work-life balance by brainstorming and adopting boundaries. This may be difficult due to the rigid legal timelines in the exceptional educational realm, but they are necessary to maintain the mental health of the professionals working hard for their students daily. Boundaries can be the major difference between professional fulfillment and burnout. However, it is important to realize and understand that boundaries can fall along a spectrum of too rigid or too loose. Healthy boundaries are flexible in that they allow you to exercise control without being too resistant or defensive. A non-judgment open door policy is paramount when helping your educator set healthy boundaries. First, the educator needs to determine where limits need to be set and what supports can help them succeed. Another way to set healthy boundaries is by determining what needs to be changed. Is it curriculum-based or colleague-related? Again, having that communication to hear and having your educators feel heard is the biggest step in beginning to facilitate of burnout relief. According to the Office of Post-Secondary Education of the U.S. Department of Ed, 46 states face a severe shortage of special education teachers, and that is in the year 2017. Imagine that number growing after the coronavirus crisis. In conclusion, the coronavirus crisis has placed excessive stress on educators, students, families, and others around the world. Major trends are beginning to show that educators want to leave the teaching profession entirely because of burnout and the unknown. Educators are feeling unheard, overworked, underappreciated, and exhausted. These teachers are working with students to adapt to the structured educational setting, mental health issues, behaviors, backlash from parents and administrators, and many tasks and duties expected of them during the typical school day. Educators are beginning to demand support from their school administrators to help avoid burnout and further challenges presented by COVID-19. By implementing social and emotional practices such as mindfulness and relationship building, both individually and in their classrooms, incorporating collaborative practices with their colleagues, and building non-judgmental and professional relationships with their administrators, educators can successfully establish and maintain classroom composure during these challenging times and feel more fulfilled as a teacher. Thank you so much for your time.